Hi students, and welcome to your second video on functions. The learning targets for this lesson are I can add and subtract functions, and I can state the domain of a function. Now, in yesterday's video we were learning about stating the domain and the restrictions that we can have on functions based on the domain. And we're just extending that to function operations today. We'll be adding and subtracting functions. So here we go. So this example says, let f of x equal 4x plus 7 and g of x equal the square root of x plus x. Find f plus g of x and state the domain. Well, first of all, what does this mean, f plus g of x? All that means is to take your f function, 4x plus 7, and take your g function, square root of x plus x, and add the two together. So I'm going to write that as 4x plus 7 plus square root of x plus x. And all I'm going to do here is find like terms. Well, my like terms are 4x and 1x. So I'm going to combine 4 plus 1 to be 5x plus square root of x plus, I'll put my constant number 7 at the end. So f plus g of x equals 5x plus the square root of x plus 7. So this is the result of the addition of the f function and the g function. Now the second part of the question, after we find f plus g of x, which we just found, it asks us to state the domain. So now we got to think about our red flag situations. And I know I do have a red flag right here. My red flag is an x under a square root. And I know that I'll have to take whatever's under that square root and say that that has to be greater than or equal to 0 because it can't be negative. So my domain includes all numbers that are greater than or equal to 0, or I would say it as an interval from 0 to positive infinity. In the second example, it again wants me to find f plus g of x and state the domain. So I'm going to take my f function, 2x squared plus 8, and my g function, x minus 3, and I'm going to add them together. So when I'm adding here, I'm just going to look for the like terms, which we'll see positive 8 and negative 3 are like terms, so those can be combined. And then the other terms I'm just going to write in descending order. So I'm going to put 2x squared first plus x, and then combine 8 plus negative 3 is 5. So f plus g of x is equal to 2x squared plus x plus 5. And the second part of the question says to state the domain. So I'm again looking for my red flag situations. Do I have any x's under radicals? No. Do I have any x's in denominators? No. If I don't have any red flags, then I could say that my domain includes all real numbers. This symbol stands for all real numbers, or all the numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity with no restrictions. In example 3, it says let f of x equal 2x plus 3 and g of x equal negative 4x plus 1. Find f plus g of x and state the domain. So I'm going to begin by adding 2x plus 3 plus negative 4x plus 1. So I'm going to look for the like terms. I've got 2x and negative 4x that combine to be negative 2x. And I've got positive 3 and positive 1 that combine to be positive 4. So f plus g of x is equal to negative 2x plus 4. Now we need to state the domain for this function. Well, start looking for your red flags. Do I have any x's in denominators? No. Do I have any x's under a radical? No. Since there are no red flags, again, we can say that the domain includes all real numbers, or you could write it in the interval notation as all the numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity with no restrictions. In example 4, the question changes just a bit. It says let f of x equal 4x plus 7, g of x equals square root of x plus x, but it asks me to find f minus g of x and state the domain. When we are subtracting, it is really important that you write both functions in parentheses to begin. And then we're going to distribute. So, first, write both functions in parentheses with subtraction in between. So this is what I mean when I say write both functions in parentheses with subtraction in between. Because a minus can really be distributed into the second binomial here only, just into the second function. So now I'm going to rewrite this without parentheses as 4x plus 7 minus the square root of x minus x. And now that I have distributed the negative, I'm going to look for like terms. 4x and negative 1x combine to be 3x. I'm going to put minus the square root of x next, and I'm going to put the plus 7 at the end. So f minus g of x is equal to 3x minus the square root of x plus 7. And the second part here is that we're supposed to state the domain. So look for red flags. I notice there is an x under a radical, so I would take whatever's under this radical and say that it has to be greater than or equal to 0, which tells me that my domain includes 0 and all the numbers up to infinity that are greater than 0. So this is the correct answer for f minus g of x, and here is our domain. So the next example, it says let f of x equal 2x squared plus 8 and g of x equal x minus 3. Again, we're supposed to find f minus g of x and then state the domain. So the first thing we want to do is write the f function in parentheses minus the g function in parentheses. And now we're going to take the negative sign or the subtraction and we're going to distribute it into that second function and rewrite. So now we will have, we will have 2x squared plus 8 minus x, and minus a negative becomes plus a positive 3. Combine the like terms. And I know that 2x squared does not have a term to combine with it. Minus x does not have a term to combine with it. But positive 8 and positive 3 combine to be 11. So f minus g of x is equal to 2x squared minus x plus 11. When we're stating our domain, we are to consider, are there any red flag situations here? Do we have any x's in denominators? No. Do we have any x's under square roots? No. So we would say all real numbers is our domain. So again, our domain is all real numbers or all the numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, in this example, again, we're going to let f of x be 2x plus 3, g of x be negative 4x plus 1. We're going to find f minus g of x and then state the domain. Please pause the video now and let's see if you can correctly find f minus g of x and state the domain. Go ahead and do all of that, please. Pause the video and then unpause to reveal the answer in a few moments. So here's my solution. F minus g of x is 6x plus 2. The domain is all real numbers because there were no x's under radicals and there were no x's in denominators. So hopefully this video has helped you learn how to add and subtract functions, and we would hate to end the video without reviewing the learning targets. So I have a special guest here who is going to read your learning targets for you.
I can add and subtract functions. I can state the domain of a function.
Proud teacher moment. Yay!